The New York Times famously sparred with the Biden White House over the refusal to grant interviews with its journalists during his presidency. But former President Joe Biden finally ran to the paper this month as President Donald Trump and GOP lawmakers put a harsh spotlight on his use of an autopen. The interview was widely panned, with many suggesting the Times buried the most crucial part of its own story, and it had essentially done more harm than good for Biden. Now, the Gray Lady faces widespread criticism, and the Trump administration will investigate the legality of Biden's pardons in the final days of his presidency, which were mostly signed using an outbox. News Digital breaks down exactly what happened from the paper's call for more access to Biden to the backlash. The Times is currently receiving Biden's lack of availability irks press. New York Times blasts Biden for avoiding questions from journalists. President Biden's team kept him largely sequestered from press conferences and sit-down interviews, particularly in comparison to his predecessors Donald Trump and Barack Obama. The New York Times released a blistering statement in April 2024 calling out Biden for his unprecedented lack of media access while in office. For anyone who understands the role of the free press in a democracy, it should be troubling that President Biden has so actively and effectively avoided questions from independent journalists during his term, the Times said before suggesting Biden could set a dangerous precedent of avoiding scrutiny and accountability. Politico published a story about the petty feud between the Times and Biden's team last April, with his officials and campaign team calling the newspaper staffers, entitled, "No longer in office, Biden finally speaks to Gray Lady after dodging New York Times journalists for an interview throughout his presidency, aside from a 2021 chat with a columnist. Biden spoke to the paper's reporters in a 10-minute phone call earlier this month regarding the growing questions about the legality of Biden's pardons using an autopen. The rare interview was published on July 13th. Trump's attacks on Biden over the use of an autopen come after the oversight project with conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, released a report March 6, claiming that it conducted an analysis of Biden documents and found that a majority of documents signed during his administration used an autopen.